All right, we'll call the order. It's 6:06. And let's see. So I think they'll take care of the first order of business, which is just to approve the minutes. They looked great to me. I don't have a copy in front of me, but I move to accept the minutes as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Minutes are accepted. And then second item here is just I wanted to review the school garden project was a great success. They had a work day there on, I want to say it was May 19th. And I went and planted potatoes for the kids. It was a Tuesday. It was about 94 degrees. And it went pretty well, I think, overall. You know, they're kind of getting used to the idea that they have this resource over there, and I think trying to figure out how to use it. But they planted a lot of flowers and herbs and some other vegetables. And I think they're just kind of figuring out now what the summer will look like.
Sorry, y'all.
Hey, Kurt, how you doing? Hey. Oh, grab a copy of each of those.
Oh,
okay.
You can
show
me through yours.
I think I had a chance to. So, yeah, anyway, a summer plan is developing. We'll stay in touch. And if anybody wants to donate weeding time or whatever down at the school, there'll opportunities to do. And then updating just item 3 here, the giving garden, the raised bed giveaway. I guess it went pretty well. I delivered 10 beds to 10 winners. And Mike donated the material to fill them.
Nice job, guys. That's great.
And my only, I think a lot of the people who got the beds, I think it's, and with the free plants that are available at the transfer station, it is gonna make, you know, having this little garden possible where it wouldn't have otherwise. And some people clearly could afford it. And I almost wonder if maybe it would be good to pick a charity or something and say, hey, sliding scale, you know, $0 to $40 to this or that. You know, I don't know if it's possible to donate to the elementary school garden or something like that. You know, we could look into that, but that was my only thought, you know, not to require a donation, just to suggest, yeah, if we were to do it again.
Yeah, you felt like some of the people could have done this on their
Oh,
own,
absolutely, and
Yeah.
that was not.
and that's fine.
Yeah,
There's no
that's-
barrier to it.
Did they,
fine.
Yeah,
did they? I'm so confused, even though I donated to this, like, my impression was that it was for people who couldn't afford or have the means to build a raised bed. Like, I'm thinking someone in a wheelchair, older people, and are they like growing food and then giving it away? Like, the whole thing confuses me. I don't really know what it's about.
I think that, you know, in a perfect world, I think people would have gotten some vegetable starts, some seeds, had a gardening experience at home, brought extra to the food,
Okay,
sort
yeah.
of food. You know, I think, is that gonna happen? I don't know. It's certainly not a requirement.
Right, okay,
You know.
yeah, so it's kind of like trying to kickstart people to garden.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Okay.
And
That
certainly,
makes sense.
I think in that sense, if you guys are donating your time and your material, you know, I think it's perfectly fair to not ask or require for a donation, but just say, hey, you know, money for the school garden or the farm to school program or
Yeah.
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a cool idea.
How would those funds be managed through?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably something to take to the giving garden
yeah.
as a like just feedback, right?
Right, just
I
feedback.
don't know that the ag commission would manage it if it was sponsored.
No, but just, I think yeah, suggesting the donation be appropriate if you can afford it. Anyway, that's my only thought.
Do you know how they drew the winners? For the,
I think it was a random.
like a
thing.
raft?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So,
Judy's on now.
Oh, Judy's on now,
Judy,
good.
can you hear us?
Oh, are we recording?
Yes, we are recording.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good.
Hi, Judy.
Hi. Sorry I'm late.
No, you're right on time. The next thing I was hoping we could talk about was the kitchen garden, the kitchen survey.
Okay.
Well, let's do
Is that loud enough for everybody else to hear?
Oh,
So I don't have a paper copy in front of me of the survey, but
I can display it.
I think everybody had a chance to look at it.
yeah.
I thought it certainly looked fine. We could give you, our email, a collection of emails that we have of the area farms to send it to.
That would be great. The list I have is from 2020. But
Might be the same list. It's possible that this pamphlet here might have some updated emails.
great. Well, if you could send me a copy of that.
Okay. But anyway, does anybody else have any thoughts about the commercial kitchen survey or?
I had an opportunity to do the survey this afternoon. I thought for the most part it looked good. I think that, maybe, you might want to add something about like what types of products people are interested in processing, and then that'll give you the opportunity to like maybe tailor your equipment purchases based on like if you get a ton of response for pickling, you might want, different equipment versus
A pizza.
baking or pizza oven or,
Good thought.
but I think just for like gathering information, it seemed fine, or gathering interest seemed fine.
You'd at least identify the people where needs to be a further discussion.
Yeah. Or also what they don't like about what they have, which I think is important too. So, well, thank you.
And then you're also, brought to our attention sort of the opportunity to support some legislation,
Yes.
the House Farm Resiliency.
Yes, sir.
So did everybody kind of familiarize themselves with any of this? Yep. Read through it.
I read it, yes.
And so your suggestion would be to recommend that the select board write a letter to the House Ways and Means Committee?
Yes, to the chair.
Okay,
The House Ways and Means Committee has to release it to the floor. And I think once that happens and it's on the floor for a vote, based on what I could tell from the Senate stuff and the numbers of people supporting it, and the fact that it doesn't really involve any monetary expenditure from the state, it's mostly just ensuring that farms get taken account of in other kinds of resiliency measures, and when there's food support programs that they have as much local food as possible, that kind of thing.
I think it was to raise a preferential buying threshold from 10% over market to 20% over market in order to source locally.
Yeah.
A few other provisions like that.
So happy to have you guys write a letter, but I think the select board would have more clout because it's a broader representation of the town.
Sure. No, yeah, that's just fine with me. And
Our purpose is more to
advise
advise the select board anyway, no?
Yes, that's right.
Don't want to punch above our weight.
You want a motion to,
Well, so these two letters here are drafts of letters that we can use.
Yep.
And one is a letter that we can use to send to the AgCom. Judy has written this. It references a lot of CISA's talking points, in what they feel is important. And then the second is a suggested letter from the select board to the chair of the House Ways and Means.
Yep.
So.
And by all means, feel free to change both. I thought I'd give you a starting point.
I think it covers the waterfront.
Yeah, I'm happy to fill in the day of the month and adopt them both. I take credit for things I didn't do.
Fine by me.
So, anyone like to motion to accept these as written and proceed?
Motion to accept these as presented.
Seconded.
Great, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Oh, all right. Okay, well, Gwen, we can send these along to the select board.
Yes.
Yeah. You have the letterhead, right, Gwen?
Yeah, so I would just have to tailor them a little, you said accept it as written, so I'll just take the draft off, and just send
Yeah.
it to them. Okay.
Yeah. Well, leave the draft on for the one they
Oh,
sent,
yeah, whatever, okay,
because they have the option to change it too. You don't want to commit them to anything.
right, no, don't wanna do.
Well, you'd like to, but I wouldn't suggest it.
Okay, I appreciate that, thanks. Yeah, I'll take care of that.
Okay, well, thank you both. That was quick.
Yeah, okay, well, thanks for tuning in and have a good summer.
Okay, same to you. Pray
All
for
right.
rain.
Yes, indeed, we need that. All right, thanks, Judy. Okay, so yeah, I would, go ahead and find that survey and fill it out yourselves as well and see if you can pass that along. I know it's pretty hard to get emails back in this situation. So, Stephen Toronto is here from CISA to talk to us that you have a drought preparedness survey, is that right?
Not really a survey,
Okay,
but I can explain what I'm doing, why I'm doing. And Judy gave a really good bridge into this by asking us to pray for rain. So is everybody familiar with the MVP program that the state runs, the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program? You guys know what that is? These are some money that the state puts out to towns and planning commission type organizations to help them prepare for extreme weather events, mostly like flooding, like drought, like wildfire, like other types of events like that. And so the Franklin Regional Council of Governments has one of these MVP grants to look at how prepared farmers are for dealing with a really severe drought. So if we had 2-3 weeks, if we had 2-3 months, do you guys have the equipment that you need? Do you have the labor that you need? Are your water sources reliable? Are they all, if like today they are enough, would they be enough if we didn't see rain for another 3 months, 4 months? And the reason why they're doing this is one, because
we pump with water and I go water every all winter.
as you guys probably know a lot better than I would, droughts are not actually uncommon here. And we do seem to be having them more and more frequently. And the onset of the drought seems to be happening quicker. Like all of a sudden, there's just no water for a long time instead of kind of spring tapering off a little earlier, maybe something like that. No, just all of a sudden, we don't see a drought for a while. So like rapid droughts. So you have a lot of time to prepare. So FERCog wants, CISA, where I work, they contracted us to get out and talk to farmers and talk to technical service providers, talk to some businesses, just kind of take the pulse of what's happening out there so that FERCog can better, support farmers that are challenged to deal or might be challenged to deal with the really severe drought, and that could be through technical assistance, it can be through grants. They can get more of these MVP grants to work with farms, to help them. So that's kind of what I'm here for, And I thought about doing a survey, but to really do a good job with a survey, you have to talk to a lot of people, and it's really hard to get people into surveys. And this is a really hard time of the year to get people to sit down and fill out a survey. So we've opted to just do more of these kind of informal conversations to hear back from you guys. So I'd love to, I don't know how much time we have. I can also talk to any of you individually on the phone, come out to your farm and see what you're doing. But that's why I'm here. So I don't know. We have time now to talk a little bit.
We have time, we're cruising, I mean, it's 20 after
Okay.
6 here, yeah.
Well, again, like I said,
Yeah, Tim has a question.
So,
do you mind if I record this? Because it'll be a lot easier than me taking notes.
Sure.
I won't be using names if that's an issue.
I think it is, I think you can tune into this after.
Oh, this is recorded?
It's recorded.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're already live.
Yeah.
yeah,
But
Well, in case that doesn't.
but do double recording for your own.
But I just also, I like to, even though you guys know this, I'm gonna pass this around just as a reminder. This shows the last 2 years. Anything that's not white was some level of drought. And the darker, the worse. So just kind of interesting to see it all laid out over 2 years.
and the white one was a drown out.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So anyway.
So out of all this permitting,
Dropped.
will they exclude the permit for taking water out of the Connecticut River? Because right now you have to go through 14 different channels to get a permit to take the water out of the river.
Yeah,
And it'll cost.
that's above a certain number of gallons per day usage.
Yes,
Yeah,
but if all of a
they're
sudden.
not talking about adjusting that level down or up in any direction.
But if somebody all of a sudden wanted to be legal pumping water out of the river, they had 50 acres of water. It would be a
Yeah.
possibility, putting on 3.5 inches or inches, water inches an acre. So,
Yeah, well, I have heard from different people that, a lot of farms are not getting permitted that should be permitted. And I don't know who those people are or anything like that, but right now there's only about 8 farms that have the permits for the 100,000 gallons per day or something like that.
because it costs about $35,000 to get them done.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
Do all of you take from the river, your farms, or?
Well, that would lead into my question is. I bet that there's probably 3/4, maybe it's even 90% of all the farmland doesn't have access to water. I have no access to water, never had
What do you
access to
do?
water. Grow beef and raise dairy cattle.
Where do you
So-
get your water from, your well water, or?
Yeah, for the cows, but
Yeah.
like I grow 150 acres field corn, there's no water
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah.
We have 160 acres of hay, there's no. If it doesn't rain, the grass doesn't grow. So,
How
there's-
often have you had losses in your pit?
Every year.
Yeah, is it just patches, or you had like a?
Only annually.
Yeah, mostly annually. Yeah, if it's not one, I would just say if it's not one thing, it's another thing. That's. Like my father's farmed his whole life, but everything he knows is useless. Because if nothing happens that way anymore. Like all the old little, you seed a field down, August 15th. Well, August 15th now is different than it was 25 years ago.
Falls on a different day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like all those little like farming tidbits, I don't even know what you call it, like old timer advice.
Yeah,
Like none of those rules play. Like it's a totally different ball game. I feel
You don't know
like
what you're gonna get.
no, you're you try to no-till, we plant out of the 150 acres, we use every single type of tillage that you can think of. And spread it out. Some of it's gonna do well, some of it won't. But you just
Is that kind of how you do it?
yeah,
You just
Yeah.
roll the dice?
yeah, some of it's no-till, some of it's minimum till, some of it's conventional till. And yeah, if you have a wet year, this will do good. If you have a dry year, that'll do good. You know what I mean? You're kind of like,
I see.
Is there
and
enough?
if you're lucky, it'll all be average.
Yeah, right, right. Is there enough value in grain, in corn to water it? If you had
That's gonna be my question.
would you
I don't
water it?
know, there's no access to water.
No,
That's,
but I'm saying if you happen to have 30 acres of corn in the river, is there enough value there to justify owning a system to?
if it was dry for 3 months
Yeah.
and you were gonna be short, so
Yeah.
that's why we're always trying to be ahead on feed.
Yeah.
So that when there's an issue,
You got
like
something in
it's,
the bank.
yeah,
I see.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole Midwest, there's all kinds of circles out there just for that purpose.
right. Like Daryl Williams is a year ahead on feed for milk cows. Like big, huge, I don't know if you ever heard of Adirondack Dairy, they milk 4,000 cows. They're they don't go to their neighbors with a pickup to buy a load of silage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They have a silage pile that's 4 acres big. So they're a year ahead on feeds when you have a bad year. That's
Wow.
I don't see how there's any help for that kind of, I mean, maybe planning there's just access to water is just not real, in my world at least.
I mean,
All the hay fields we have in Conway, there's no water, there's no way to,
yeah, yeah,
it's just not realistic. I mean, even if you could draw out of the brook, it's,
Yeah, you're not gonna bring truck in or.
no, it's
You don't
I don't
have
even
enough
know how to
land
describe
grow-
it.
You don't have enough land to grow ahead like that, is what you're saying?
No, I guess we kind of do, but you're always one disaster away from being in big
Okay.
trouble.
so it feels like a vulnerability,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
lack of access to any water in the event of, oh boy,
well, it was never a problem,
yeah, it was never.
Back to my father never worried about water for 50 years. It's just, it rained, corn is pretty, now they have, everything we plant is Aquamax and, drought resistant and this and that. But it's $450 for a bag of corn seed, so. You know what I mean?
Right, it's almost, I've heard of some people say things like, it's so expensive to grow a crop of butternut squash, for example. If the herbicides don't set and you have to go in and hoe it, you might as well harrow it up.
Right,
Because you
can't afford to do it.
you just
Right.
you just broke,
Right.
hoe it once, you broke even.
Yeah, so corn is very expensive to grow, but it's by far the best bang for your buck acreage wise for feed.
Yeah.
Tonnage, and there's no other crop that comes close.
Hmm.
But
And your well for your dairy, has that been consistent? Have you ever had your wells dry up or anything like that?
we got a new well from one of these disaster years from at FSA for a new building. So, because we were drawing up my parent, the farmhouse. So yeah, it would never dry up, but you'd run out of water and then it would, shut everything off for an hour.
Yeah.
Come back and my mom would be bad.
Take it out.
She was doing laundry.
Pump to help that.
Yeah, exactly. Pumps love that.
We dried out, our well went
Yeah,
dry
that's-
last year.
Yeah,
We were pumping water all winter long out of Westbrook for the cows.
Really?
So it does, but if you have, it comes back. It doesn't go, right now we got water, but you can tell it's gonna go dry pretty soon if we don't get some rain.
So what do you do when that happens?
Pump out of the brook,
Uh-huh.
tanks and bring it home.
Has that been enough?
Right now it is, we can,
Cause the
Yeah,
brooks
that's
aren't, the
our
brooks
brook
aren't
dries up.
filling up either,
no,
you know? That's the thing.
yeah.
Yeah, well, but it's been a good backup.
yeah, the brook is, but it's a lot extra work, especially in the winter time, everything's cold, frozen, there's ice on the brook, you gotta punch a hole through the ice. Pump water.
Be a part of this, it'll be fun.
Finland is orange, your father.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you ever have any problem with the Conservation Commission for going into the brook, or are they, that they don't get involved?
In this town, he's pretty good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, gets it. At least in my experience. I don't want to speak for everybody, but
And what about others here, your water sources, how reliable are they for you?
I'm very, very small. I just have a very small orchard. At this point, I used to operate a compost business, which now Mike is running. I'm dependent on rain.
Yeah.
And what was it, a couple of years ago? You know, whether you're small, big, medium, or big, growing fruit or whatever, you want to get through certain stages of the growth. So in other words, in the case of fruit, we want to get a decent fruit set. And we have that this year. Two or 3 years ago, it was all right. But then around July or thereabouts, there's no rain. And the problem was the fruit wasn't sizing up. And from my experience, or peaches, which I had peaches and apples, but the peaches would tend to put a lot of their growth on in the last 2 weeks or so. You know, they pump up. And so in a little bit of a panic, I go out and more thinning, because you have to thin the fruit. Anyway, so you can have any size at all. And I do a little more thinning, but it was just, I mean, I couldn't sell the fruit, it's just too small, you know. So depending on rain. I know one thing that you have to it's a new consideration when you're sort of determining what is good quality irrigation water is food safety. Right, you know. And when brooks stop flowing or slow to a trickle, that's when your bacteria levels.
Exactly.
Tend to go up and water becomes less usable for that reason.
Yeah.
So, that's something that was not part of the conversation 10 years ago. We'd save sources.
Have you lost product because of that?
No, it's part of the new definition of what quality, good water is, or good land, with access to water that is, plentiful, it flows when it's dry out. Irrigation sources are not useful if the only time they have water in them is after it's rained a lot.
Right.
So, so I just think a lot, we've talked about solar, that people don't want to see solar go in on good farmland. Well, what's good farmland? And the definition of good farmland can evolve over time, and if we're going to experience more intense droughts, then different land is going to be used. Land is going to be used differently.
Or land that was maybe not as valuable before is actually more valuable now.
And some may become less.
Yeah.
So, or the crop that goes on might be different. But just that, a food safe water source is part of the definition of a good water source. And that's just new, fairly new.
How, in your case, if, do you have a plan? You have no plan B, your rainfall is your source. Could you have a plan B, and what would that be? Could you have a well? Could you take from a stream nearby?
I could sort of
Rainwater
do what
catchment?
David does. I did it many, many, many years ago, not for crop, but for the compost, because that needs moisture too. And I went down to Westbrook, a little big tank, and pumped water out of it and sprayed it in the windows and all that. I mean, in desperation, I could do something like that, but I'm retired. There's no more desperation.
Okay, fair enough.
But what about like Quan?
Imagine you're
Do we know what Quan does for irrigation? Are they on trickle up there? I don't think so.
So I
It
don't
must
think
be
so
on a
either.
well, I mean,
And they have there's the beaver pond and
Yeah, right.
yeah, they've got the little creek there.
They were many, many years ago when Howard Hoxie put that orchard in, he had trickle. You know, he installed it himself, like the conventional trickle back then.
yeah.
And of course, there's been quite a number of improvements in that type of watering.
Mhm. Yeah,
And I think the system, yeah, it wasn't hard for the little nozzle things get plugged and they wouldn't work.
yeah, I mean, yeah, irrigation is, a lot could go wrong.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Irritation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a huge difference between commodities and like vegetables. And like for at least for me, like there's no feasibility to ever do water because your margin is virtually invisible.
Uh-huh.
So to add another thing that you have to spend money on, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I can speak for like anybody who's milking cows. We're not doing that, thank God. But you know what I mean? It's like there's no like a commodity farm, beans, corn, hay, anything like that. So totally like the money you get out of it per acre is not the same as butternut squash
Yeah, and I mean, butternut squash is pretty low on the.
on the total, right, of veggies.
Yeah, we do vegetables and like we're at a scale where it is feasible to irrigate everything and we're working to get there. This is the first season that we started pumping out of a pond, thanks to Doug. I hope it rains. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is also the first season that we've ever seen the pond not have water flowing into it. I think it does seem like it's recovering. So I don't know if it's a spring coming up from inside the pond, but it used to always flow into the pond and all of the neighbors have said that they've never seen the pond low or empty.
Yeah.
But hopefully we don't have to find out this year. We'll see.
Is the pond because your other sources were not reliable?
We were on a well, again, off of a house well. And we trenched a long line down to our fields and now I'm just using that for like the wash pack area, so like washing vegetables. And I'll use it to like irrigate tunnels. The big problem is like, it just wasn't enough pressure. It wasn't enough volume to like do the whole field to where it needed it. You know, it wasn't putting out enough water fast enough in really dry times to like germinate carrots, for example. But it seems like the pond is definitely doing a lot better and it's taking a lot of the stress off of the well.
Yeah.
But if that pond runs out, then yeah. One thing that's interesting though is we are right across the street from a huge source of very nice fresh water in the town of Whately.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe there's something that can be done there with, you know, using the reservoirs. If it really got bad. You know,
Does Whately have a reduced rate for farm water?
I should know this off the
for
top. of my
town
head.
water,
Where we are, there's no,
Farmers using town water?
we don't have
we
town
don't have
water.
town water in West Wheatley,
Okay.
just wells.
Yeah, right. We have a municipal source at one of our greenhouse complexes, but it's sort of the source of last resort.
I do believe that, because Daryl Williams is on town water, I believe he gets a discounted rate as a farm
In Hatfield.
in Hatfield.
Yeah.
So I'm not,
I think some towns don't.
yeah, I'm not positive about Wheatley. But, yeah,
So, you weren't here when I introduced myself. I work at CISA. I'm Stephen.
Nice to meet you.
I'm doing research for the Franklin Regional Council of Governments on drought areas, on farms here in the area. Yeah,
Report these days,
what do you farm and what's your water situation like?
we make hay, and luckily a lot of the hay fields have sort of a high water table and it's almost too wet sometimes, so. At times of drought, it can be nice, because we're always able to make hay, but. I'm also board horses and we do have wells, so we're pretty lucky. We do have a river that goes through the hay land. We used to grow tobacco, and when we did, we would use the river and pump out of that to irrigate it when we needed to, but. Yeah, it's not like some of the, like was saying, the vegetable, you know, it's a little less needy of water. It can be very scary when there's no water though.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I didn't know that we were gonna try to make that, it's really neat that you're trying to figure out a plan
Yeah,
for
that's the idea.
what needs to happen.
Yeah.
So it's more geared towards, it sounds like, creating backup plans for farmers who need it. And
Yeah, well, that and
Plan
working,
A's,
what's that?
and Plan A's, not just
Yeah.
Plan B's.
Yeah, some
Plan A
farmers
is
need
great.
a plan A.
Plan is great.
Yeah,
Eat a whole alphabet of plans.
yeah.
It's like my plan A is gone by 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Show up and something's wrong.
But I think the idea is that they can, they want to sort of take the pulse on different types of farms and, what are the ways that you guys are already dealing with drought? Because you're obviously already adapting because they're happening, and sometimes there's already really cool things happening here that other farmers can learn about and be like, oh, that's how we solve that problem. Like we did a workshop the other day at Pioneer Gardens, and the amount of rainwater he's getting off his roofs and storing in tanks is insane, and so just knowing that people are doing these different things is really helpful.
definitely wanted to plan to do that, at least for my own house and garden.
Yeah.
At some point. But we do just try to like, with at least the one well that serves the barn with the animals. It's like we go on sort of restriction, you're not allowed to wash your borders, you're not allowed to like use extra. I mean, that's really the only plan that we make. It would,
That would be the water ban in like
Right.
1890, you
Right.
can't wash your horse.
that would just well. Well, you know.
You can only
every time they
wash your
ride,
horse
they
after
just-
7 p.m.
Yeah.
Unless he loves.
It's just a different time. They just need to drink.
My parents,
Yeah.
it's awesome, or something, and it has like 200 feet.
We don't know, I mean, it seems so different, at least the last 5 years, than I ever remember it being. As far as like consistently raining during the summer, now we have almost a month. At least last year, it seemed like almost a month that we didn't have any rain, at least to speak of,
Yeah.
like good rain.
5 or 6 weeks.
Was that
Yeah.
more than a month?
And the other thing we're having are winter droughts, where
Right.
our rivers are completely dry. And even when, like this year, it seemed like we got a ton of snow,
That's a big
we
problem.
still have deficits. Where winter often is the time when those,
Yeah.
deficits are big.
When we had a little bit more. Snow cover and it took longer to melt, but it actually didn't, because it
I
was
should've
like
felt like it
for 2 days and then.
It went
gone.
dry so fast, it felt like.
Soaked in a little more,
In
but-
April, those hot days.
Hey, what would be crazy for you to talk to a guy named Jim Peeler? Do you guys know Jim? He's in like Ware or Munson. I sold him some irrigation stuff that we are getting rid of, and he has, he's installed pumps for farms all over the valley and sold reels and irrigation equipment. He probably knows more about what's happening with water need and resource.
And what people are investing in.
Yeah, Yeah.
That's a good idea.
I'm sure I'd talk to you. But let me just make sure it's, I'll text him and make sure.
Okay.
Cool. We'll put them to-
Well, I just want to ask you 3 quick questions and then I'll leave you alone. Like. I know there are artists, I know there's like not no yes, no answers. There are not yes, no answers to these questions. But like show of hands, if you think that you have enough equipment to get through a really, really bad drought. What's really good? Yeah, let's say 3 months. Like during the growing season, during your growing season, you feel like you have the, the pumps and drip tape and wobblers and everything that you need. Forget about being able to deploy it, but raise your hand if you think you've got.
Yeah, we have one.
Yeah, I'm almost there. Almost there. What about labor? To deploy it, to go set it up, to move it, to fix it, do you have dedicated staff? You think you have what you need in terms of human power or?
It's only
Using
the
what you
same
have?
two people, so
Yeah.
yes.
It's only the same two people. But is that enough? Like, does it take you away from what you might be doing?
Well, if that's what needs doing, then that's what would be doing. So, yeah, I mean, you know, it's a huge burden.
As long as there's water there to move.
Yeah, yeah, if there's water there,
Yeah,
I
if the
mean,
water's there.
certainly what minimal amounts that we're doing now,
Yeah, well, that's my third question. Your water sources, how reliable? Raise your hand if you feel like, to get through those 2 or 3 months. I know in your case, no.
No.
In your case, no. With the rest of you. I think
It's never been 3 months, so you know, it's hard to.
Don't wanna find out.
They're not really long.
Inside the year. I think if that was the case, I'd probably start looking for, I don't know that I think my well would be fine, but I don't know that the pond would hold up. And I'd probably just buy a big tank and start pulling out of somewhere.
There's services too, like my mom used it once to fill the pool, like you could get a big tanker truck to bring in, however, I forgot how many gallons it was, but.
Yeah.
Even
Fill
up your tanks.
And they'll fill up a well, or they filled up the pool for her, but they'll ship it in from wherever they have
Right.
a source and. Get
For a
you,
price.
yeah,
For the
Yeah.
price.
yeah, for sure, it's
Some price.
sure goes out, yeah.
All right, well, I'll turn the recorder off. Thanks you guys very much. I don't know how FERCog's gonna distribute whatever comes out of this kind of research. If you guys will at some point get a report or not, that doesn't depend on CISA. But, just it's good to know that they are thinking about this and, trying to really get out into the field and talk to you guys and the report's gonna have a lot of direct testimony of things I've heard from the farmers around the valley.
But this conversation should have taken place in January.
Yeah, well, I've been doing this for 3 months. It just took me a while to get to you guys.
You never.
Think about next year.
Yeah,
It'll be wet.
yeah.
Right.
And the other thing, just a reminder at CISA, we've got lots of kinds of technical assistance available for farmers. And if you ever do need help with, legal stuff, labor stuff, marketing stuff, planning stuff, starting to do this kind of weather related work, don't hesitate to get in touch. Because pretty much everything we do is for free. We try to make sure the farmers don't really pay anything. So we're happy to listen, and often if we don't have staff that can help you, we know people that can help you, so don't hesitate to get in touch.
You guys work with Legal Food Hub?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, they facilitated the land transfer for me for free.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that too. You came out and took a look around our farm and provided us with some nice resources, and we started working with someone on designing a new sign for for the road, so that was a nice segue. So I appreciate that.
And there's more money coming down the pipe for marketing stuff through a new USDA project. If you get CISA's email bulletins, you'll start seeing about it, and it's a really good opportunity to do stuff like that. It's a USDA program focused on marketing, so like if you need equipment for your farm stand, a logo, a website, anything that can help get your product out there, if that's what you need, there should be some funding, and we'll be doing promotion locally.
Are you applying for that on PP and the FMPP, or are those different?
They are different.
Okay, got it. You guys already got the money.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
yeah. Johnny, thanks again, and I do hope it rains really soon, because it's feeling awfully dry and windy, always windy.
Yeah, that was, I know when I talked to that guy, Jim Peeler, the, irrigation equipment broker, works in the valley all over. He's echoed, as you said, you get into a dry spell and you can't get out. And you get into a rainy spell and you can't get out. And he hears that from everyone, yeah, all over. And you just can't break cycles. drought or too much rain.
Well, one of the other thing, last thing, one of the other things we're gonna be doing through CISA now are called irrigation tune-ups. And we're gonna pay for Manuel Diaz or somebody else from American Farmland Trust to come out and spend some time looking at your irrigation and giving you some recommendations on how to tweak it and optimize it. And what kind of equipment you might look, if you haven't, if you're not aware of the latest and greatest stuff that's out there. We got some grant money that we're gonna use to pay for him to go out and do that. So keep your eyes peeled for that too.
I also wanna pile on to that. NRCS, if you guys have looked at their like sustainable like farming like methods online, like they have a list of maybe like, I don't know, 70 different things that you can do on your farm to increase water infiltration or, grass waterways help with, actually recharging, your water table or whatever. They just have a lot of cool stuff on there that helps with general resiliency, whether it's drought or, making sure you have enough water in your table. I don't know why I said it like that, but yeah, you get what I'm trying to say. So yeah, it's a cool website for us. A lot of organization NRCS is.
They're trying.
They're trying, yeah.
A lot at the top.
Don't get me started.
Right. So, Billy.
Yeah.
Things are covered the way you want
Yeah,
them to
it's
be?
all solved, all the problems.
Yeah, good.
Too bad it
All
wasn't
right,
that
well,
easy.
thanks very much, everybody.
Thanks
Appreciate
for
it.
coming.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, what's your phone?
Scott Farm.
Scott phone. Okay.
Hey, Jake.
Yeah, see you later, man.
Okay, so we pretty close here to wrapping up for the season. I wanted to, my daughter is, turns out to be a whiz with the program that Dora. Yeah, I know. We now have color.
Ooh, nice. It's impressive.
So one thing this here, you can take one and pass a few around here, but thanks. So one of the things I kind of discovered with the pamphlets going into these display boxes is people don't know they can take them. Thank you. So now right at the top, they take those tape. Right. And then the graphic is not showing up very well on our super cheap, budget.
That's better than it was.
Right, it is better than it was. But I think my daughter was gonna do a little line drawing and try to give the front a little color. In another version, but these right here are the newest version that you have in your hands. Send me any corrections or additions that you become aware of. Gotta get you in here, right?
Yeah, I don't have a business yet.
Okay.
I'm trying to move methodically into how I'm gonna actually get the land up and running. I don't have enough on there right now to feel comfortable putting anything on there. Yeah, next year. Total Eclipse will be the name. It will be Total Eclipse Farming.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm leasing it right now from Kitchener. So they got a bunch of tomatoes on it.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm just having fun growing, just flying. Balance and stuff.
Good, okay.
That's how it starts.
Do you write a business plan here?
I had to write a business plan in order to have the state approved the APR transfer. But I'm definitely gonna be modifying when I submit it to them. I'm trying to get a loan in the next couple of months from the Lotta Crabtree Foundation. If anyone here is a Stockbridge grad, they have no interest loans, 10 years for any, like $30,000 a year or something crazy like that. It's meant for Stockbridge grads that farm in Massachusetts. So they provide a lot of great assistance. Yeah, and I know the person that administrates all of it. So if you guys know anyone who would be interested, Amanda Farrell's awesome. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Did you graduate some?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did. No. Simple food farming. Crazy that I spent that much money on a farming degree, but here I am.
There's way worse stuff to spend money on.
Yeah.
Yeah. No kidding. But, yeah, I got a rough plan for what I wanna do. I'm putting chestnuts in, like I said, at the end of this year. But really figuring out what kind of infrastructure I want on the property is gonna be the most important. We got a well on there, which is good, but it is out of whack for whatever reason. Kitchen Gardens, I didn't know what was wrong with it. There's water in there, but it stopped using it a couple years ago for whatever reason. I don't know. But yeah, all that's gonna be figured out in the next couple of months. I hope. Yeah, I mean, I'll keep coming to these, you know?
Yeah.
I'm in it for a while.
Yeah, good. It's good. Happy to have you. So. All right, I skipped over the signal thing, but let's, why don't we think for 2 minutes here about where we can deploy some of these nicely painted by fifth grade
I still
artists?
have 3 more too.
We have three more coming, so.
I would put one for my,
Those are gorgeous.
You kids paint.
Yeah, you're not that good.
Well,
come on.
I helped a little.
Yeah. I've got one on my farm stand. I can get them to paint it.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be you.
I would put one at my bucket, the compost bucket area. People love digging handouts.
Okay, yeah, that'd be a great.
Yeah.
Yours.
Or at the library.
There's one at the, there should be one at the library.
Big one.
Well, you know what I was thinking? I wondered if you might do one, like if you have 3 more coming, if you might do like Masami, Quan. And I was thinking there's somebody else.
Well, I thought the apple one would be good. Well, I could do another. one.
Oh, you want the Apple one for Quan?
River Valley.
So these two. You think that? Okay. All right, so there's, that's yours.
Yeah.
Quan.
All right,
cool. Take some of these.
That's-
If you need any more.
Yeah,
Jess, admin assist at whately.org will print them, you can come get them. And she said, no problem, we have our own money for printing them, I think in July. She's got the file and everything. Yeah, and it'll always be, whatever she has will always be the most updated version, so I'll just, as my kid does it up, we'll just keep sending this, updated. So I don't know, muffins. Does anybody go to muffins regularly?
Oh, I live right there.
Muffins.
Yeah.
Okay.
I live right there, so like I walk to it.
Okay,
Yeah.
here, let's do this.
Yeah,
Yeah, the old ones. Do you wanna manage this?
Yeah, you want me to give that?
Sure, that one can be yours.
Okay.
Here, and we'll have, yeah. We have 3 more coming, so when they come, we'll, you'll let me know, we'll find
you
out.
said Gary and Tom said no.
He just doesn't do anything,
Doesn't,
yeah.
Who's this?
Tom's Hot Dogs,
Oh, really?
yeah, they don't do anything. I mean, Zanoni's, he would probably put one. I would, yeah, the car shop, yeah, I mean, obviously not a farm stand, but people from other towns
Yes.
go
Yeah.
there. That's the thing
Hey,
about
that's what
putting one at like the transfer
At the
station.
diner?
Yeah.
Actually, transfer station's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the giving garden is gonna.
Make sure you put it there that it's out of the weather. If something can be figured out.
Yeah, I mean, there's all
The
the
swap spot.
the swap shop, yeah.
in the shit, yeah. I mean, the thing is, there's always an attendant there
Yeah.
to cover it.
Oh, look at this.
That's a nice box.
What about the Lumpus? Did you guys put one?
Yeah, there's one there.
There is one.
And my daughter who redid this works there, so.
Oh, perfect. Okay, awesome.
Yeah. That was probably where half of them were distributed from last
Yeah,
year.
that.
Have they opened yet?
No. No, I think one more week.
8, or they just start whenever they have, or.
Yeah, I think when they have cukes and squash. Yeah. So anyway, that's the pamphlet update. If you get updates, send them to me and we'll get them incorporated. And then I just wanted to talk again real quick about that signal.
Yeah, right over here.
Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna say.
Oh.
Skip over number
Yeah,
6.
yeah.
Yeah, cause that was the last thing you did.
Yeah, and so it's been 2 months since we talked about it and I think it's still just Eric Bill and I are, and we've not even used it once, right?
Yeah, I got a new phone and I haven't been able to log in, so I'm working on it. I must have saved the wrong password.
Oh,
Or I don't know, what's a PIN, so.
I'll have him get me on it at some point on Friday when we're having a beer.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is pretty simple to download the Signal app and then you can seek out, each other. Why don't we have a goal between now and October? Why don't we each try to recruit 2 people?
dude, love that.
All right.
I don't count, so.
Oh, you don't count?
Yeah, if you're in this room, you don't count.
That's
And
not 2
we'll
people.
see if we can get into October with maybe, 14 or 15. And I claim Charlie today, so I'm gonna get you.
Very good party.
That's what I.
Yeah. Fancy.
Yeah.
I got signal if someone wants to invite me to a group.
Yeah, no, let's,
I got it.
As soon as I get in, I'll try.
It's scary.
do you have any of our numbers?
No,
Okay.
I don't have, I'll have Eric's, but yeah, that's about it.
Okay. All right, well, let's go outside and I'll get you mine.
Yeah, cool, thanks.
I'll be putting. So I don't know, does anybody have anything else? There might be, well, one thing I wanted to mention was the Touch a Tractor event is the 20th. That's a Saturday, right? At the fire station, I wanna say.
Library, or no, is it?
I thought they had,
No, I think they moved it to the fire station.
I thought this already happened. Was there another tractor thing that happened?
probably.
No.
Memorial Day.
Was there something from where?
No, you know what it is? This was postponed.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's,
Oh, okay. So I'm not insane.
No,
there's that, and then the other thing is Giving Garden.
Yeah.
Their first plant giveaway event, I think, was canceled, and then the second one basically got rained out. The last day we had meaningful rain, and so I think they're hoping this coming Saturday at the transfer station will be a significant event. So I'm gonna try to load them up with herb plants. Anything anybody else wants to contribute, probably be appreciated. And then it's every 2 weeks after.
Is the touch a tractor, bring a tractor down there, take the keys out of it and go pick it up a day later
I don't know,
or?
I think, yeah, it's small, but like climb on it or something
I don't.
take it without.
at the tractor.
You know what you could do, you could, call or text Amy, or,
Okay,
there might even be something, I think.
something on the web.
There's a little flyer, I think.
I'll take a look.
Take a look. So, and I'll just stay in touch if there's opportunities to do a little project over at the school garden, I'll let everybody know. Or staying tuned into what's going in.
Bill said they're eating raspberries already. I don't know if that's true.
I mean,
They said
are there raspberries?
Well, they might be eating them, boy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing but, hard green peas over there. Yes, they were a very raspberry focused group.
What else got planted? Do they plant stuff?
They put some lettuce in there, right?
Oh, yeah, do.
Yeah, there's potatoes, 4 rows of potatoes, there's pumpkins and gourds. Another row of raspberries that's in,
Yeah.
and a lot of flowers, ton of flowers.
How was that,
Great.
that mix? What did you think of it?
I think it's great. I think, if anything, I wonder if it's a little heavy. But some of it, at the end of the day, I mean, it was a little bit chaotic.
Sure.
At the end of the day, and I brought an additional scoop of just straight this peat. And I mixed everything together and that's what I used to fill the 2 garden beds locally. I don't know. Do you think it's a little heavy? When it's wet?
I haven't seen it wet because it hasn't rained.
Yeah.
Yeah, the compost holds, I mean, Bill, right? Like the compost holds water, like
Great.
it's going that style.
Yeah.
So how do you fix that?
You don't water it as much.
Yeah.
The biggest problem I have with people who buy the soil blends is they overwater. People overwater anyway. like homeowner Joe. With their 2 tomato plants, they water at noontime
That driving
and they make concrete out of the top of a couple inches, stuff like that, but. Yeah, I thought the potting soil blended in with it definitely makes it lighter.
It makes it lighter,
Yeah.
but that stuff gets heavy too. I mean,
Yeah.
if, if it's wet.
If it's really wet, yeah.
But I found when I had spread mine,
Yep,
the load I got from you, I dried it out. I wanted to really spread it.
yes,
Nice.
yeah, that's the pure compost, yeah. Yeah, that's just wet from winter still.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does it, Bill? A yard holds 100 gallons of water?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's,
Oh. Is it Chris?
If you do a yard of compost and dry it to bone dry, you lose 100 gallons.
yeah, it's pretty wild.
It's a lot of water. Hell,
Yeah.
800 pounds of water in a yard of compost.
Yeah.
That makes sense, yeah.
They buying a lot of water with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
The water part-
I
the
think
water
I used to
part's
tell
great.
them to coat another building with water.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you dry it though without a building?
Yeah.
Well, unless anybody's got anything else.
Do we have a date for October?
Well, second Monday.
Second Monday in October, okay?
That's,
All right. And then
Busy day.
till then, holler if you get thrown.
I don't know, there's, yeah,
Yeah, then also one other thing too, I'm here in a personal capacity, I mean, I got land in Whately, but I also work for the Hilltown CDC. My title is Director of Community Food Resilience. We're building out a food hub in Cummington to be processing and act as an aggregator. It's not gonna be done by the time October comes around, but if you guys need, access to a kitchen or access to, I want to start getting people together to get institutional buyers, institutional contracts, hospitals, school districts, things like that. So, if you're interested, please holler at me. I'd love your support and yeah, I'd like to make the food system more resilient in every aspect, feeding, giving food to hospitals and stuff. So, yeah. That was just the last thing. You can find me on the Hilltown CDC website.
Cool.
Thanks.
I forgot your name, I'm so sorry.
It's Jake, it's okay.
Jake. Could you send Jake all of our email addresses and then he can sort of keep in touch with us with what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, you could just become part of the email list.
Yeah,
That's what I would like.
yeah, so give me your.
Yeah, if you just
After
communicate that
meeting.
when,
Yeah, for sure. No, I gotta give everyone my.
Well, shouldn't he just join, isn't he officially joined into the group?
no, we're a 7-member committee with 7 members. So he can participate in every way that we can except voting.
Oh, I see.
not that our voting really matters. But.
Contentious.
Okay.
Yeah.
The second,
Right. Need a time.
Monday in October is Columbus Day, also National Farmers Day.
Oh, boy, we gotta be,
I guess we
the
gotta.
building will be locked up.
Okay.
Yeah, so do we wanna do the third?
You wanna just do that
Or
Tuesday?
or the, yeah,
I know we were
Yeah,
doing Monday.
or we could do the first Monday, that's the 5th, or the 3rd is the 19th.
I wonder if there's Gwen, do you know if there's a meeting conflict schedule with any of the other Mondays?
I can kinda. Or,
Not that anybody's gonna be booked out that far.
Yeah, we can always get back to.
I don't know if I can get out of this while recording.
Should we just touch base late August and
Yeah,
and
what-
come up with a date?
Why don't we just, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, do that.
pretty far away.
The solution.
Yeah.
Which sounds good. The
Okay.
solution is
September, so I'll forget by all.
Yeah.
I take a motion to adjourn at 7:10. All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Aye, let's do it.